Hello and welcome to today's edition of Route 664, The Road to Human Kindness. I'm Les Winston. I am your host. I'm also the national spokesperson for socialsecharity.org. Social Charity is something that you can use to supplement your Social Security. You can use that to supplement your retirement income in general. And Social Charity devices are given to us by the Congress. They gave it to us in 1969. And not too many people know about them. So we're trying to educate you about Route 664. That is a road to human kindness because through that, you can do amazing things. You can provide income for yourself and your family if you want. You can reduce your taxes, and you can also do something really good for the community. And that's what Social Charity is all about. We also clarify for you some questions that we've had from the audience where we're getting, what is Social Charity actually about? How does it actually help me? So let me give you a concrete example. The Endowment American Network Foundation is working with a chamber of commerce, a local chamber of commerce, to create a pooled income fund that the Chamber of Commerce can promote to its members and to its community for the purposes of endowing a new high school in a location in that chamber's region. And the benefit of the pooled income fund is people can make contributions to the pooled income fund, get tax deductions, and also get income from that device. And eventually that money would then, at the death of the income recipient, that money would go to endow that school. And that's really a valuable thing in a community, because if you have an endowment that can help support a school, you can increase the non-governmental courses that you can give. You can give specialized education in a lot of areas, and it makes it a really powerful opportunity for a school to improve themselves and make themselves into a great school. And also, safety is another feature where that endowment could be used to make the school safer, because there is a question about school safety, and a lot of it can't be paid, most of it can't be provided, and it's not being provided essentially by the state because the tax base isn't large enough. So you have to do something to supplement that. And what we want to do is use these endowed school funds to do that. And that's under our Safe Schools, Great Schools program. And that's what the Endow American Network Foundation is supporting in order to get the schools safer and greater. And that's something that's good for everybody. One of the tools that we do use in this social charity world is a pooled income fund, which I've discussed before. And this is what we've created here in South Florida in the Aventura St. Angeles Beach Chamber of Commerce's membership with the Endow America Network Foundation. So you can find it if you go to the asibchamber.org website, and you can find it on socialcharity.org as well. But my next guest is, I call him the guru of pooled income funds. We have the Adventures of Charity, and this gentleman is Pificus. Anyway, here's my good friend, Dan Rice. I interviewed him earlier, and Dan is a member of the Council of Professional Philanthropic Advisors. He is a qualified professional philanthropic advisor. He does a lot of work in pooled income funds. He's really the guru of pooled income funds. Here's that interview. So we're joined now by a very good friend and mentor. We've created the characters in the Adventures of Charity. We have Charity as a superhero, and she uses the powers of three wizards, Pificus, Cratius, and Chigaro. And those powers are social charity powers. Those are the powers of social charity devices, and those are pooled income funds, charitable gift annuities, and charity remainder trusts. And pooled income funds are great. Pificus has great powers. And actually, though our illustrator, Guido, he tells me that he patterned the look of Pificus after me, which I'm not really happy about. I'm going to say he actually patterned it off of Dan, because Dan is actually Pificus. That's what I figured. Dan knows more about pooled income funds than anybody that I've ever come across, and really introduced me to them at a meeting. And in fact, Dan, if you remember, the very first complex case that we worked on was where we were changing a charitable remainder trust into a pooled income fund to get a new tax deduction, and that was a pretty complex transaction, and not too many people in the country would probably know how to do that. And so I thank you for that introduction, and from there it's been a little bit easier. But you became familiar with pooled income funds a long time ago, so give us a little bit of your background, because you work with other advisors and you basically help them do this kind of work. So I didn't want to do that much of an introduction, but I figure you're worth it.
Sure. Well, the pooled income fund started at the same time that the Charitable Remainder Trust started, back in 1969. President Nixon signed them into law in the Tax Reform Act of 1969. But the Charitable Remainder Trust, as you know, live over in the code section 664, the name of your radio program.
Our Route 664, yeah.
Yeah. And then just up the street is the code section 642. And at 642C5, a dedicated parking lot is where the pooled income funds live.
Okay.
And I actually was able to create two pooled income funds at the same time for two different investment objectives at an organization called World Vision in 1983. And so that was my first time with that particular kind of charitable trust. And Conrad Teitel is the attorney that we were retaining at the time, and he set it all up for us, and off we went.
Yeah, that was Conrad is very well known in philanthropic circles as a legal guru with regard to these devices. And I assume that was a successful venture, because these pooled income funds, it's hard for them not to be successful in a sense.
And I believe that's the case, although at some point, pooled income funds were edged out in favor of more use of the Charitable Remainder Trust, especially the Unit Trust, and in particular the Net Income with Makeup Trust, the so-called NIMCRA. Mm-hmm. And in fact, a lot of pooled income fund programs sunsetted. As soon as the last income beneficiary had passed away and the remainder passed to the charity, they ended the programs. And we're down now to about 1,300 or so across the country. And it was several times that in its heyday.
And
they're coming back, though.
Yeah, it needs to be more. I mean, I think the knowledge, the skill level of the advisor with regard to these things, the education of the advisors to make them more aware of how these work. I was with an attorney and a CPA yesterday, and I was explaining a pooled income fund to them, and it was like I was talking, from another planet, and they looked at each other and said, "Did you learn this in your courses?" Or no, nobody has been teaching it. So one of the things we want to do, and actually you're a terrific mentor that way, is we want people to be aware that knowledge about pooled income funds can be gleaned from somebody who has the knowledge rather than having to get it yourself. So Dan is listed in, just so you're aware of it, the listening audience needs to know that Dan is one of our professional philanthropic advisors, and he's listed on our website at socialsecurity.org to find an advisor. And the ways in which you can use these pooled income funds and what you can do with them is really quite remarkable. And so tell me a little bit more about your affiliation right now is the Alliance Community Foundation. Is that your primary objective right now, is to build that?
Yes.
Okay. And what is the Alliance Community Foundation? What does it do?
Well, like other community foundations, they will offer donor advised fund programs primarily. Some also add to that different kinds of endowment funds or scholarship funds. Many community foundations focus on their community. That's why the name. And they become subject matter experts on all the different charities in that community. They keep track of the ones that function with best practices, so that if an individual wants to donate to a certain kind of program or cause, the community foundation will likely know who in town is doing that work, and who does it better than anybody else, if there's a number of charities that do that. Some community foundations like ours also offer the trust services, so they'll serve as trustee of charitable remainder trust, they can serve as trustees of pooled income funds, although we don't see a lot of them out there. And to be fair to the advisor community, they often don't know about pooled income funds because it's a program that only a charitable organization can offer. And typically they offer it only to their donors. Typically they want 100% of the remainder when the pooled income fund agreement ends, and they want to manage the money. So that's not something, if I was a financial advisor, I'd spend a lot of time knowing a lot about. It's a lot like the charitable gift annuities. You won't find a lot of advisors that have done a deep dive into that because, again, for the same reason, only a charity can offer that program. Only the charity wants to be the 100% beneficiary at the end. The charity selects the investment advisors. And so there's really not a lot of space for the financial advisor to be able to operate. And in our program, we allow the advisor to manage the investments for their client, which they've already been doing before they found out about us. And so the client and the advisor are much more comfortable with that arrangement.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And we also can benefit any number of charities because we function as a conduit or as a pass-through community foundation. So when the remainder comes to us at the end of the agreement, we'll put it in a donor advised fund and allow the family to distribute it that however they wish, all at once, or maybe some right now and the rest over time, and so forth.
And I think that there has been a communication problem because of this concept of scarceness, where the most nonprofit organizations, sorry to say, deal on the basis of scarcity as opposed to abundance. So the abundance principle is what you operate under, that there's enough out there for everybody, and there's no reason for me to be so protective of what I'm doing that I have to have it all. And that, in that regard, you're opening up the doors to philanthropy to people to do it any way they want to, with the benefits of your guidance and management and administration. So those are important aspects. Dan Rice is an advisor to advisors and also advisor to philanthropists. And you can find him. It's a very persistent person. You can find him on our website at socialcharity.org. When you look for an advisor, Dan will be listed there. And I wanted to thank you very much for spending time with us today. I think the use of the pooled income fund and its relationship to philanthropy in general, is it because it's so underused, is that really damaging the growth of philanthropy or philanthropic wealth in the country, the charitable wealth in the country?
I don't think so. The largest charity in the world today is also one of the largest financial companies in the world today, and that's Fidelity with their charitable gift fund. Mm-hmm. And so I think their magic sauce is that their fundraisers are really financial advisors. bringing their clients to Fidelity and allowing those advisors to manage the assets. And we really took a page from that playbook, and that's how we set up Alliance Community Foundation as well. We're really not different from most community foundations. They're not trying to raise funds for themselves. They all tend to operate as conduits, managing the gifts for charitable organizations and individuals, and then resourcing charitable organizations with these grants from donor advised funds primarily, but
So
from other.
let me ask you a question. If a donor wanted to make a contribution to the XYZ City Community Foundation, and they wanted to do it in the form of a pooled income fund, and they went to them and said, well, I'd like to invest, I'd like to utilize the community foundation as a means to make my gifts in the future, but I want to do it with a pooled income fund. What would the community foundation say to them?
Well, I think you'll rarely find a community foundation that offers a pooled income fund program. I think one of the reasons why is to compare it to operating a donor advised fund. It's much more simpler to run a donor advised fund program when a charity is doing that. There's the reporting requirements are very simple. Basically, all of the accounting and all of the reporting rolls over onto the charity's tax return, that 990. Mm-hmm. With a pooled income fund, the charity now must become a trustee and truly have fiduciary responsibilities. And very few charities want to serve as trustee and have that liability, that risk. Usually they don't have the expertise on their staff to operate a charitable trust. And so I think that's why you'll rarely find a pooled income fund program at a community foundation. And as soon as the person that has all the expertise decides to leave and go across the state and join another community foundation, there goes the expertise that original community foundation once had. Mm-hmm. And so and they can kind of see that happening. They understand their turnover. They understand what it really takes to run this. And the tax returns for a pooled income fund by itself, because it's separately reported on, is the same 5227 that CRTs have to file. And it's an inch thick.
Right. So there are regulatory or administrative roadblocks for a lot of nonprofit organizations, and they're not sure how to get past those.
Right, and the private foundation rules govern pooled income funds, and it's enough to handle what governs a public charity, and then add to that a body of expertise you need to have to run a private foundation.
But the thing about it is that nonprofit organizations would benefit greatly if they had pooled income funds, and so it really is on them to find out how to go about doing that, and they can consult with a professional philanthropic advisor, because professional philanthropic advisors know how to take you through the process and help you as nonprofit organizations create pooled income funds and help your donors get helped by your situation. You know, today the trend is not so much about the charity as it is about helping the donor as well. The donor needs to be able to get some relief as well, and that's one of the things that this does for them. Dan, thank you again for joining us today. Dan Rice, the founder, I guess you're the president and chairman of the Alliance Community Foundation. Is that?
And I sweep the floors too.
Okay. Great. Thanks a lot, Dan. Thanks for being with us on Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. And be philanthropic out there. You know, learn about pooled income funds, social charity devices. They're very valuable, and you can use them to help yourself in transactions. You have to know when to use them. That's all. You have to talk to somebody who can help you. Thanks again. Yeah, that's a great interview. Dan is, as I said several times, he's an expert in the pooled income fund area, the field of philanthropy and philanthropic planning that he is so good at. So we've actually created a very very usable pooled income fund at the Endow American Network Foundation for nonprofit organizations and for individuals to be able to use for their benefit, to be able to get income and also to create tax deductions and do tax planning. You can do tax planning, retirement planning, estate planning, life insurance planning, annuity planning. All of those plannings can be done using pooled income funds. And one of the things that is important to you as a listener out there is, how do I get professional advice? How do I know that I'm doing this the right way and the best way for my situation? And that really is the direction that you will get from a professional philanthropic advisor. They are listed on socialsecharity.org, socialsecharity.org. We've also added, or we're adding, a new button, which is the CE button, the continuing education button. We're going to be offering continuing education credits to the professionals who can utilize them. We have insurance credits available, and we will also have PACE credits available. The course that we're bringing to the local area is the use of the charitable vehicles and life insurance and annuities, and how those all work together to help you in retirement planning, estate planning, and tax planning, and how powerful those devices are when done properly. We believe that you have to have a very good working knowledge in order to be able to handle that kind of planning. And so if you're an advisor out there and want to learn how to use these devices, the charitable remainder trust, the pooled income fund, the charitable gift annuities, then we suggest you enroll in our continuing education course. And you can find that on the same site at socialsecharity.org. There is a fee for that, but we will absolutely 100% grant you a scholarship if you can show us the need. So let us know in advance. But we think that the professional philanthropic advisor is the most important advisor to create in the country today. They're the ones that are going to create the endowment in America to help to endow nonprofit organizations. And the objective there is to make the work of the nonprofit organization sustainable over a long period of time without having to continuously raise money. That is the bane of the existence of the nonprofit organization, is that they have to raise the money to support themselves. And so that takes time away from other things that the nonprofit organization has to do. And unfortunately, a lot of nonprofit organizations today have become reliant on government funding in the form of grants. Our theory is that it is not appropriate for the government to provide funds to non-governmental organizations. It's an oxymoron. It doesn't make any sense. It wasn't what was planned. It's not what was devised in the tax code. The tax code directs you to make your contributions directly to non-governmental organizations rather than pay tax to the government so the government can support the non-governmental organization. It is not as beneficial to you, the individual taxpayer, to do it that way. And as I've said many times on this program, you are not duty-bound to pay the most that the law extracts. You have the right and privilege to reduce your taxes as much as legally possible. If you don't know how to do that, you need to learn. And if you're not willing to learn about it, then you can suffer the consequences of paying more tax than you need to. But there is a way to reduce your taxes. If you're a taxpayer, and I'll tell you this, you're a philanthropist already. You may not be a voluntary philanthropist, you're an involuntary philanthropist, but you're a philanthropist nonetheless. Your money is directed by the government. You have the right and privilege to direct that yourself. And that's one of the benefits of using Section 664 and Social Security, those devices that were created by the government back in 1969, as Dan was talking about in the interview that we did. In 1969, the government had tremendous wisdom. They put sections in the tax code which encouraged people to build charitable wealth. And the charitable wealth that's being built is the endowment. That's what we need to create, is endowment. If you ask 99 out of 100 nonprofit organizations, non-governmental organizations, how they're funded, very few of them will tell you that 99.9% will tell you that they don't have endowment. Maybe there is 0.1% that have the endowment. The universities like Harvard, the ones that have superior financial skills or superior means of financial growth, they have a little bit of an edge because they're collecting tuition, they're collecting other things, and they're also a way for them to hire people to do what's necessary to explain to the people how an endowment is important to their alma mater. Well, we think endowment is important to every nonprofit organization. Every non-governmental organization should have an endowment. How does it get it? It gets it by helping the people that people want to support them, but who want also to get help with their taxes, get help with their planning, and that can be done using a professional philanthropic advisor. So ideally, if you're a nonprofit, you have to create that financial planning envelope, people that know your organization and who might be able to help the people that want to contribute to your organization, and in return, they'll help you at the end of their lives. That was the bargain that was struck by Congress. They said, if you do something for charity while you're alive, we'll give you lower taxes while you're alive. And if you do something for charity while you're alive, so that at your death, something will go to charity, we'll give you lower taxes while you're alive. That's the bargain. Most people don't even know that it exists. So Section 664, get to know that number, 664, 664, 664, 664. 664, not war, 664, the missing piece, PEACE. And you can learn more about it on socialcharity.org's website. You can also listen to our phenomenal music and talk radio at the route664.org/radio site, or go to socialcharity.org. You can find the site there as well. You can watch us on YouTube, see us on Amazon Music. We're all over the place. We're getting more and more exposure every day, and that's what has to happen so our message gets across. Endow America. We want to create endowment for all nonprofit organizations so they don't have to struggle with fundraising. If you're a nonprofit organization, you're interested in learning more about what we're doing with pooled income funds, by all means, put some information onto our website so we know to get in touch with you. If you want to build your own charitable wealth, you want to build your own charitable fund, you can do that very effectively using non-cash assets, getting tax deductions for gifts of non-cash assets, and being able to use those in your planning for retirement income at a later date. Very powerful planning tools, very powerful planning possibilities. Use of the NIMCRUT, use of the charitable remainder unit trust with a makeup provision. Fantastic tool that most people don't know exists. I'm Les Winston. I'm the national spokesperson for socialcharity.org, and also for the Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. That's what this program is all about. I want to thank community newspapers for the opportunity, for the studio, and we appreciate being with you every week here on Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. Have a great week.